Alright, it's a little change of scenery here, so I've got a little bit more space, but you probably wonder what is going on. We got some 1.25" angle, we've got some 2" flat aluminum. I'm going to throw those off to the side here and hope they don't streak off at an angle. And now you see some other things coming into play. We've got most notably a micro fuel pump from Edelbrock. We've got a bunch of electrical connectors. We've got some bulkheads. We've got some Lexan down there. We've got some clear tubing, some rubber fuel line, all sorts of crud, right? And basically what all this is going to turn into is a transfer pump stand. And we have basically half a tank of fuel in the truck. It's a situation where several years back it probably would have been fine with the ethanol content in the gas. It's not. I don't want to run that through a brand new motor. I don't want to run that through brand new injectors. I wouldn't want to run that through old injectors or an old motor either. It just needs to get out of there. We're going to go ahead and check the tank and also just go ahead and swap the fuel pump, mainly just because, again, it's 20 years old. So we're going to do that since we'll have the tank down. We're going to be able to transfer the fuel out of there. And I've also got a old riding mower. It's much easier to manage. You take the cap off, you got instant access to the tank. But I figured, hey, this would work there. It's something I could actually use pretty frequently. I do a lot of like small engine stuff for people, and then with old cars, whether it's myself or someone else is having me do stuff, particularly like wiring or something. You acquire an old project car that's sat for a long time and you need to get the tank cleaned out, and this is going to certainly make it a lot easier. So it may not make a lot of sense right now. I don't have like anything definitive in mind. I actually ordered a piece of carbon fiber and it's not here yet. That's super overkill for this. I wanted some aluminum sheet metal. I couldn't find any. I've got lots of like little galvanized sheet metal from like 26 all the way up to like 16 gauge, so we could do something there. I wanted to build this out of aluminum if possible, just so it's light. This isn't something that like I'm going to use all the time, and that means it's going to be stored, and then when you have to get it out, if it's lightweight, it's easier to do so. Get it to the job site or wherever you want it. And that's what we're going to try to do. So I'll sort of try to update you as I go, but that's kind of what all of this mess is just me going to try to build a transfer pump minus the anti-seize. Summit was nice enough to ship copper anti-seize in a bag in case something stupid happens. So with that said, I'm going to jump to it and see what I can't get done. Alright, quick little update. And what is the update? Well, we simply removed packaging. This might be a little easier for you to see. So what we have here is just a rocker switch. Typically you don't see me go with red, but I thought it was kind of a good match, A, for the Edelbrock pump, and 2, just because it's LED based, right? And so it's going to get your attention, and it makes sense. If I got it on, I know I'm running. If it's off, we're not. Right here, this is included with the pump. This yellow cap here covers a standard, just barbed in, old school stuff, 5/16. It's important to note it is 5/16. This side over here looks like fine thread. This is the filter. It actually does come with this, which is nice. So again, essentially, the only reason it's not attached is just for space savings, packaging, shipping, all that stuff. So this basically threads in like so. You want to factor that in wherever you're putting it, but it is included. You can pick these standalone for like 12 bucks or something like that. If you did want to bush it out, run a bigger size, or bush it out at some point, keep that in mind. Coming in over here, this is just again going to be a barbed end, nothing fancy. If I can just take my word for it, I'm not going to do it one-handed to waste your time. Right here, gold-plated hardware. That's actually for our mounting of the pump. Again, all that was included with Edelbrock minus the switch. That's something we picked up a few bucks. And then these are our bulkhead connectors, and that'll basically allow us to mount things up, get it situated how we want it, and separate our power from ground. So now we just are going to kind of structure a layout of some sort with the aluminum and kind of figure out what I want, how to mount it, how to tie it all together. I would love to TIG weld it. I don't have argon, so I cannot. I'm considering Alumiweld, which is like a poor man's aluminum welding, by way of essentially you can use a propane torch if you want to. I guess you could use oxyacetylene. I guess you just need to turn it down a little farther, but never use that stuff. It would be an adventure, and of course we could just drill it out and make it look pretty good and mount it up that way. But this is where we stand. That's kind of what we're doing. All this stuff was brought in. I'm kind of leaning towards using the bulkheads and like ring terminals. If I have terminals that'll fit, I'm not sure. That could be an issue. But like right here, I just had a douche connector, and same thing here. This is like an old school plastic connector. I also debated if I don't have ring terminals, I can use either test leads or I've got some of these that I think I can solder the other end of these, haven't opened them up. And then I had also two little bullet style connectors I debated using. It's all kind of up in the air. It sort of depends how we mount it and how we want to trim it out, but this is the crux of it, so I'm going to get to cutting some aluminum. Alright, so apologies if the fan is messing this up, but it's stupid hot in here. So basically I was kind of laying this out. I decided to kind of working with the constraints we had, a 2-inch flat bar. The pump will mount on a strip this way, right? The 2 inches go in here. If we put the 2 inches this way, we're just shy basically of clearing our mounting bosses, so we'd have to conjoin pieces, something along those lines. I was debating how I wanted to structure it, and I thought, well, let's just kind of get a general layout. I'm kind of thinking I would want the pump below. It's going to be the heavier object, right? Makes sense with gravity and all. So then we would have our power and ground as well as our switch supply. It makes sense to me since the leads for the pump come out here on the flow side. We would have those tucked back and go to our switch. I've tested the switch, it works fine, and then I went ahead and I busted out some real cheap hole saws, which should be able to handle aluminum. And then I got to thinking about it and I was like, man, I don't know. I debated doing a vertical setup, like having it all on like a 10 to 12 inch strip and having it kickstand down type of a thing. I don't have a hinge, but I thought like I'd like tack it with that Alumiweld and it would just sort of be like compact strip. And I thought, I don't know if I'd really like that. And so I have a ton of like 3/4 and 1 inch aluminum sitting over there, and my 1.25 inch, I know I need about 6 to 10 inches of it, and I thought, I don't know if I'm going to have enough for a frame. I've also never cut Lexan, and you will not be able to cut that with a shear. That's kind of what I figured, but I confirmed it. You could probably cut it, it just would look terrible. And then it dawned on me when I went and grabbed this stuff, you know, I think that's a full stick I've never even cut. I have some of these. I don't know what these are from, where they are. It's something I salvaged from something that's pretty thick, I guess like 1/8 inch. It's a real funky aluminum. Sadly, that's not me that put the hole there. That's drilled. The other one I've got that's like way dirtier has got the same hole in it. I assume they were like a pair of something for something, and I don't know. It's clearly this was mounted, had a flat washer of some sort. This one did too. It just didn't flash near as bad as the other one. Must have not got as wet. But this kind of gives a decent base, and it's a more than ample mounting surface. So like case in point, bear with me here, kind of hard to one-hand it, but like we can set this up. If I offset the pump, I could then put the power distribution stuff over here, and I think it would stand. That's the big deal. I think on that base this sucker would stand. It might tip, I don't really know. I think I'm going to play with that though before I cut down a bunch of angles, so I'm going to see what I can do with this mess and we'll be back. Alright, so here we are. It is stupid hot out here, but laid out a grid on this thing, kind of figured out where we wanted everything. The pump with the filter again is going to kick off to this side. This hole was fortunately or unfortunately already here, so I just kind of cleaned it up. This will be for our rocker switch. This will be for the positive stud. This is for the negative bulkhead, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to come in and start sort of tightening this stuff up, see what it looks like. And I'll show you what we wind up with. Oh yeah, there she is. So I can't complain too much for two reasons. Number one, this was just scrap aluminum that I had sitting around, and number two, it actually balances. Even though it's so disproportionate in the angle, it's more than sufficient. It also, there's a little bit more weight on the backside with those bulkheads and everything, but with the pump here, it works. I'm super happy with it. Just checked with the meter, made sure we had continuity and everything, so as soon as I put power to it, this sucker ought to ought to hum and start moving some fuel. So I am not quite done. I'd like to put some wire wrap on everything, or conduit, or some sort of a covering. Don't have to, but we can. Essentially all we need to do is come in and I can cheese it. We can just use like these alligator leads, the test clips, what have you, and we can connect from here to a battery post, wires off a battery, back in that mess. Try not to let this particular heat shrink like spill out, but back here I grabbed these specifically for this project. I could easily come in, have ring terminals set up, come off either with clips or other ring terminals. Basically what I had to do, we'll go ahead and flip this around to the action side for you. What we had to do, I don't stock a ton of ring terminals. It's not something I use very frequently, right? And I had to come in and I just deburred them out. So the little Gador guy there, and made them fit around these posts. Worked pretty well. So essentially what we've got going on, our ground here, again, that yellow, that's going to be much bigger than the 18 gauge that I was working with. So doubled two 18s together. One of them goes straight to the switch. The other one is going to be the ground on the pump. That's what this connection is. That way it's a plug and play. I can just disconnect that, and if the pump ever dies, none of this is disturbed. So theoretically, like if that's a lemon and someone has to send me a new one, I just make this disconnect and this blue heat shrink disconnect, and I can remove the pump. Super easy. Same thing if we decide to switch pumps, go to a Holly, whatever, we can make it happen super quick. So again, the ground we're splitting to the actual switch, and then right here to the pump coming off of the power side. This is a situation where literally all we are doing is going to the switch. Down here on the supply, if you kind of see my chicken scratch there, ground, accessory, and supply. Accessory, to me, that's going to be our switch source. So I'm going to run out from the switch to the pump. That's it. Super simple. Could have trimmed this a little better, but again, it's just the ring terminals are not something that I've got, so I was kind of trying to make do with what we have available. And I do need to tighten down the filter. I haven't done that yet, but I checked it with the ohm meter. If we come in here and we touch, we don't have continuity. As soon as I flip that up, we have continuity. So again, picture power going there. That would mean everything's in sequence, and that's what we're going to see here. And boom, she would be pumping. So it is unfortunately late. I'm going to run in, try to have supper at a decent time, and maybe play some Madden with my nephew or something. But yeah, that's what I got done here, and pretty happy with it. And now, not only can I evacuate half of a tank or so in the truck, but lawnmower, any project cars, people ever bring me anything, small engines, mowers, a lot of times people haven't run their mowers since, last season, if you will, or maybe, they got tired of their mowing crew type of a thing. And this beats turning them over with a funnel, so should see quite a bit of use, and it was relatively inexpensive. Your main expenses here, the pump, you're looking at around $60. I don't remember if these were $19.99 for a set or $19.99 each. The switches are stupid cheap, sub $5, depending on what you want to go with. Again, we went with red. It's rare that you're going to see me go with red, but since the little Edelbrock here was red, that's what we went with. So I guess I could quickly throw this thing down. I don't want to run this very long without fluid. I'm sure it can handle it for a little while, but it's just kind of a caveat, cavitation, if you will. And I don't want to do it long, but I would like to see if it works before I go in, so I think we'll do that. That's literally one option, is just clipping it. That's what's nice about this little lawnmower battery I just grabbed. I can clip to it. Otherwise, we'd have to bust out those battery terminals I showed you, set up some rings and everything. But checked, everything's good. We got 12.8 volts there in sequence. We have 12.8. This should run, and I'm going to shut it off quickly. We should see the switch light up, and you should hear the pump. Sweet. Alright, so now, basically the next step of this, we take, I'm not quite sure the runs or the lengths or anything, so Home Depot on this hose, they only had 20 feet, so that's fine. That's clear vinyl tubing. I've also got some rubber hose, should be good for ethanol based stuff. I've also considered hardlining it. That's all plumbing we can do some other time. But I've got plenty of space here. This is offset, you know, it's out probably a good 1.25 inches, 1.5 maybe. And that'll be ample space here. I debated actually having it route through here. I was thinking like bending hardline, and then thought, well, you know, the wiring's there, I'll just use that hole. Again, sadly, that hole was already there, so we just kind of made do with it. Found a grommet that fit when I cleaned the hole up, and yeah, this is gonna work. That's the main thing. So we got a huge mess, and we got really hot, but it's gonna work. So I think the most difficult, time-consuming part of this was the second hole on that. It's an old, I'm talking like early 2000s Drill Master set from Harbor Freight, and it did okay on the first one, but it's one of those things, it's almost a one-time use deal, because you gotta realize this is aluminum, okay? It's not like I'm taxing that very hard, and yeah, it took a while. So that was probably the worst part, but yeah, everything came together real nice, and she functions. One more time, I'll just try to stay back here since I know nothing crazy happened the first time. Sweetness. Okay, so hopefully we haven't done too much damage, just checking you know, functionality there. Truth be told, the people that buy these and use them on vehicles probably do far worse than that. So in the future though, she doesn't have to worry. It's always going to have fuel running through her. So there we go. Can we send transmission fluid, power steering fluid, antifreeze through this thing? I don't really know, but it's $62 and we might find out. I also, somewhere up there, I have a functional pump similar to this. I don't know if it's like Mr. Gasket or just whatever parts store stuff someone had in the 80s or 90s, and I think I might have 2 of them actually. So there's a chance I could use this setup quite frequently and, you know, just kind of see what the pumps can do. This one's nice and new. It was $60. The others are kind of not in use anyway and have served their purpose for me, so maybe they'll try moving some transmission fluid. I don't know. But so far so good. Again, we can clean it up later. I just wanted to make sure she worked. I'm gonna go heat up pizza from like Friday night. Hopefully it doesn't kill me. It's Labor Day weekend, so it's been there a while. Might have been Saturday, because I don't think I got to make it Friday. But anyway, it's a little older than usual, but man, super happy with this, and it's going to come in handy. And again, my goal was I wanted this thing to be something that was lightweight, easy to move around or store. I could literally throw this in one of the big drawers on the toolbox at the back, and it's out of sight, out of mind until I need it. And hopefully I remember where I put it. But yeah, there she is. If you want to see this thing in action, Ram Revival, that's the place to check, because I'm going to, again, have to transfer half a tank, maybe more, 13, 14 gallons plus 15-ish, maybe, worst case scenario, out of the truck into containers, dispose of it, and that's going to suck, but this is going to make it suck way less. So if you want to see this thing in action, actually doing work, not just testing and firing, that's the place to see it. I don't clickbait my videos, so it'll probably be like Ram Revival part 60 something, draining the tank or dropping the tank, something to do with the fuel pump. I don't know how we'll divide them up, but you'll actually get to see this function if you want to. But yeah, super easy to do. The main thing, again, just the ring terminals. I don't have a lot of ring terminals. It's not something, you know, back in the day, yeah, but now not so much. And luckily I had some, and again, we just deburred them. I tried a file. I was going to use a rasp, the drill bit. It's like really hard to do that. You either get lucky or you don't. I don't know if you can tell, but this thing right here, that was a drill bit. So the deburring works wonderfully. And like I said, this is kind of, you know, not the greatest thing, but functional. So what I can do is get some appropriate sized ring terminals and set them up with the battery deals and just have that connect. We basically need 4 of them. And it's kind of hard to find the big ring that goes to like 16 to 18 gauge, right? You have it and it goes to like way bigger stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna quit rambling, go have some pizza, check in on my nephew, and yeah, super happy with this. So LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all 3 at Lone Star Mopars. With that said, thanks so much for watching. If anybody's done anything else like this, if you've used this pump with various fluids, let me know. If you've done something else with a similar little 12-volt pump with transmission or antifreeze, let me know. Again, there's no real There's directions. I haven't looked at them. Maybe they specify. But yeah, the viscosities of that stuff is kind of what's concerning. But yeah, like I said, those little cheap ones I have, I can just wire them in place here and go to town and see what they do. So if it saves me time, it saves me time. If not, I go back to doing it manually by hand. But pretty cool little project, something fun to do. And like I said, this actually will come in handy. Just building this alone for moving 13 to 15 gallons out of the truck, that's going to be nice. But small engine stuff, project cars, super cool to have something like this. Something you can knock out real quick in an afternoon or after work if you got a little bit of time. And that's relatively inexpensive. All in, you're probably going to be able to get this done for sub $100, even if you had to buy the material. So with that said, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned a little something, hope you got some ideas of your own maybe out of this. But yeah, I'm going to get inside, and thank you for watching. Have a great week. I'll catch you back for more action from the shop.